All right, so that leads us to our sandbox challenge for module 8. I'm going to do the sandbox challenge, show it to you, play around for a second, and then I'm going to move on and show you um, the assignment as well. So in this sandbox challenge, I've given you, or I will give you, some text. One is a song from Taylor Swift. The other is Lincoln's second inaugural address, which is etched on the wall of the Lincoln Memorial. And what I want you to do is use advanced string processing to do some kind of comparison between those two pieces of text. Maybe get a feel for who uses more intelligent language, who uses bigger words, what's the average word size. So how do we figure out, how would we figure out the average word size used by Taylor Swift in her song versus Abraham Lincoln in his second inaugural address? Well, what is average? What is an average of something? If I want to average three numbers, what do I do with those numbers? I add them together and then what? Divided by 3, right? So if I want to find out what the average word length is, I would find out, right? I would add up, I would take all of the characters in that sentence and I would divide it by the number of words. And that would give me an idea of the average word length. If I wanted to be really precise about it, I would remove the punctuation and remove the spaces. And then I would count the length of it and divide by the number of words. And that would give me the average word length used. So who uses bigger words, Abraham Lincoln or Taylor Swift? Kind of feels like we should say Abraham Lincoln, right? But I see doubt creeping in out there. Taylor Swift is no dummy. She uses some pretty big words. So in this sandbox challenge, I'm going to show you, I've got the words of the Star Spangled Banner here, which is a nice string of text. But let's find out some interesting things about this. So the first thing, let's find out how many words this has. So finding out how many words, okay, li words equals str text dot split. Okay, so there is my list that contains all of the words. If I want to find out how many words it is, it's just using length with li words. Int number characters is length str text. So now I can start doing some things, right? FL average word length. So the average word length is going to be the number of characters divided by the number of words. So print so I can start printing these things out. Oops, I ran the wrong thing here. Let's run the correct thing. There we go. So the average word length is about 5.5 characters. Now, if I take that and I compare it to another piece of writing, I can kind of get a feel for, on average, which piece of writing is using bigger words overall, right? Because if I'm using big words all the time, my average word length should get bigger, which maybe means I'm smarter, or maybe it just means I'm trying to impress you. I don't know. But how many unique words? Word variety is an important part of being like a polished writer or speaker. You don't want to use the same words over and over and over. That kind of sounds less intelligent. So maybe I want to find out how many unique words are there. Well, finding out how many unique words is fairly easy also because I can convert my list to a set, which removes all the duplicates. So set words equals set li words. And then int unique words is length set words. Okay, so now when I run this, there are 61 different words used in that. So I could go through this and I could look at each word and I could find out how many times it's used, right? All I would have to do is go one word at a time, and I could use count to count how many times that word appears in that string. So see, all of these little methods, each one kind of being a little bit of a simple piece, are like bricks when you're building a wall. You just have to put them in the right order, in the right way, and think it through logically. Like, how can I discover things? It does take a little bit of curiosity, I think, and a little bit of imagination, but you can use all of these little bricks to build some pretty fantastic structures if you're smart about it. So I want you to spend some time playing around with this. If you go to the website for Module 8, and you come down here to Module 8 files, I think it's here. If it's not, it's in the sandbox itself. Let's see. A8, oh, there it is, M8 Lincoln Swift. So you open that up, and there it is. I have given you, now the Lincoln one, because it's a written composition, has very long lines, goes on and on and on, because the Taylor Swift song is it's a song, but it's basically written like a piece of poetry with short lines, but it's a lot longer. But here I have some pre-written functions, some custom functions that you can play around with. One is called clean text, and what it does is it takes text as an argument and it returns the text with all of the punctuation and double spaces and things taken out. So it cleans that out for you using something called replace. This one will return, it actually returns two things. It returns the length, the number of new words, and it also returns the new words sorted by length as a tuple. Long words, let's see here, is a function where I've written in comments how you can complete that function. So, and then here is some of the usage of those things. So I started you out with some code to play around with, but I want you to do some analysis. I want you to think about what can you discover about these two pieces of text, or what kind of comparisons can you make between them that would be interesting to know. And that is Sandbox 8 for you. Okay, so that's the sandbox there, Lincoln versus Swift.